Let us now look at means available to us to control whether an element is visible on a page or not. Now, this has a multitude of applications. You might want to have some content that you wish to show the user based on certain user action or based on a certain event. Now, having access to attributes that can control whether an element is visible or not allows you that huge amount of flexibility. Let us look at the visibility attribute first. So let's add a style to the center div, okay, and set the visibility attribute to hidden. Let's see what happens. So we save it, we preview it, and there you go. So what we see here is that the center div is no longer visible, and yet it occupies its original space on your web page, right? So think about it. The element itself is not visible, but it still occupies space, right? The converse of hidden is visible. So when we set it back to visible, which happens to be the default for every element, and we preview it, well, we see the div once again. But what happens if we set the display attribute to none? So let's find out. We save this, preview it, and so now we see a different layout altogether. The center div with ID change me is no longer visible, nor is it occupying any space on the web page. So to recap, the visibility attribute can be used to control whether an element is visible or not, but even if visibility is set to hidden, the element still occupies its natural space on your web page. Display works similarly to the visibility attribute, the difference being that if the display is set to none, well, the element is neither visible nor does it occupy any space. The display attribute has certain secondary applications as well, right? So in addition to hiding or displaying elements on the page, it can also be used to control how they appear on the page. We've spoken about how headings, divs, paragraphs are all block elements, right? On the other hand, span, the hyperlink, etc., they are all inline elements. Well, the natural property of these elements can be altered by using suitable values for the display attribute. So let's look at the CSS file to find out what kind of values are applicable to the display attribute, right? So an inline element by default will have display set to inline. The block element by default will have display set to block. You can alter the property of a block element to inline by setting its display to inline. On the other hand, you can alter the inline property of an inline element by setting its display to inline block. So try these out and observe the impact it has on the layout of your web page.